that brings us to our final games, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the revenge game. Look at that jersey behind me. I hate to do this to Alabama fans. I'm not even really an LSU fan. I just have the jersey because I was a big fan of that team last year, the 2019 LSU team. Very, very good team. I'm a big Joe Burrow fan. I love that he transferred, and he just a guy that came out of nowhere, came from Athens County, Ohio, and was just able to become something phenomenal. Had one of the best, if not the best season a quarterback has ever had in college football. Love Joe Burrow. LSU versus Alabama is back. The game got canceled a couple weeks ago. I posted my prediction for this 2 weeks ago because I thought it was happening. Game got canceled. But this is the only game right now when I'm filming this video that is scheduled 8 o'clock on CBS. We're going to have a night game in Death Valley. I know it's nowhere near the excitement of what we had last year. We had 2 versus 3 going into Alabama. But this is still a revenge game for Alabama. For those players like Devontae, Jalen Waddle, Najee Harris, maybe even Mac Jones. I know he didn't really play in that game. That was Tua's game. But he still was there. That screwed up Alabama's rest of the season. They didn't make the playoff after that. They didn't even make a New Year's Six Bowl. They went on to play in the Citrus Bowl, I'm pretty sure, against Michigan, and they were able to win in that one. But it's still a revenge game nonetheless. It's still one of the most exciting rivalries, in my opinion, in all of college football. I'm definitely going to be watching this game. I'm going to tune into it because just seeing, even though you could have Vanderbilt suit up in LSU's uniforms and you could have Kentucky suit up in Alabama's uniforms, if I see that crimson and that purple and gold going at it, I'm going to watch the game. It's just a nice sight to see for your eyes, just because you know the history and everything of the rivalry. It's just a good classic SEC football game watching these two teams play. So no matter who's playing in these uniforms, as long as there's purple and gold going out there against crimson and gray, I'm going to go watch the football game. No question about it. Although Alabama, you look at the points scored per game, Alabama has 48.5 points that they've scored on average a game. This is a team that just they run up the scoreboard. Most explosive offensive team, in my opinion, all of college football. Mac Jones has been playing some real good football this season. 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for Mac Jones. I don't even know who's going to be the starting quarterback for LSU in this game because LSU goes out against Texas A&M. They have a really rough game. They didn't play. I'm pretty sure TJ Finley was the starter, but then got pulled for Max Johnson. He came in. Finley threw like 2 interceptions in that one. And Max Johnson was the one who came in and threw the touchdown for LSU in that game. Whew, I've been talking for a while. I'm almost out of breath. I need to catch my breath for a second. Alabama, all in all, it's a better football team in this game. No question about it. But there's the rivalry. There's going to be something to play for this LSU team. It's a night game in Death Valley against Alabama. It doesn't get better than that in college football. I know that we're not going to have full capacity. Full capacity game, I think this game is different, even though LSU is nowhere near the team that they were last year. Obviously, I didn't know this at the beginning of the season, but when you lose guys like Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Thaddeus Moss, Caleb Chason, Patrick Queen, Grant Delpit, all those guys. Apparently, when you lose guys of that caliber, it makes a bit of a difference to your team. That's why you don't see LSU being undefeated and being the #1 team in the country. That's why you see them at 3-4 in the SEC this season. Those guys are once-in-a-generation talent. That's a once-in-a-lifetime team that we saw last season from LSU, and they showed it. They made the most of it. If I'm an LSU fan, you won a national championship last year. There's no, yeah, you have a bad season this year. Obviously, you never like to see your team playing bad, but you won a natty last year. You beat Alabama last year. You're going to have those bragging rights for that 2019 season for a while. Your year of having those bragging rights against Alabama that you won last year, I think that they're over. Sadly, I really do think that they're over because even though this game is in Death Valley, it's a night game, it's a CBS game, going to be lots to play for, as I said. You're playing the Alabama Crimson Tide with an LSU team who has no identity right now on either side of the ball. They've just been, from the first game of the season, it's been a real struggle for LSU. I think the only bright spot of this season for LSU was they beat South Carolina pretty good. They beat us 54-20. 52-24. Who else has LSU beat? LSU has beat. Who has LSU beat? I can't even remember. I have to go into the record because I can't even remember who LSU has really beat this season. LSU beat Arkansas. That was pretty much, I think that was their best win because Arkansas has been playing pretty good football and they beat Vanderbilt. Not a strong resume at all from this LSU football team, and a very strong resume for Alabama. Alabama's beat Georgia. Alabama's beat Texas A&M by a pretty good margin. Alabama has beat Ole Miss. I think that was the closest game Alabama's played all season because Ole Miss played a very, very close game against them. Yeah, that was 63-48, a very high-scoring game. I watched that game. The game was a lot closer than the scoreboard says it was. Alabama beat Tennessee in a very convincing win. Alabama beat Mississippi State, very convincing win. Alabama beat Kentucky, very convincing win. Alabama beat Auburn last week, a very convincing win. Just convincing wins all over this resume. Alabama could drop a game, and they're still going to make the playoff, in my opinion. If they don't, I'm literally going to go to the playoff committee, and I'm going to go protest outside of their building or whatever, because Alabama is a team that needs to be in the playoff. I want the 4 best teams in the playoffs, and if you're going to tell me that Alabama isn't one of those teams, I don't know what to say to you, because Alabama, no question about it, is one of the best teams, if not the best team. In my opinion, they're the best team in all of college football. They got that one next to their name for a reason. They are a really, really good football team. Najee Harris, best running back in all of college football. Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith. Before Jalen Waddle did go out in that Tennessee game, he was probably the most explosive player in all of college football. Devontae Smith, nonetheless, he put up 171 yards in the game last week versus Auburn. He's a really, really good player. John Mechie, my boy from Brampton, Ontario. I'm from Toronto, Ontario. He's out there in Brampton. We're close. It's like a 45-minute drive or whatever. I love seeing Canadian players in college football, especially on Alabama, the best team in the nation. He's a baller. That kid can play. I want to put up his stats for a second because I want to look at these stats that John Mechie has been putting up this season. He's one of my favorite players in college football, no question about it. After all the South Carolina players, my favorite players in college football, you got like John Mechie, Seth Williams out of Auburn. I'm sorry, Alabama fans, that I had to put that in there. I love Seth Williams. Justin Fields, I'm a big Justin Fields fan. Love watching him play. He's a really fun player to go out and watch play football. Who else am I a big fan of? I don't know if I'd say Chuba, because yes, he is Canadian. I haven't really watched a lot of Oklahoma State this year, if I'm going to be honest. But John Mechie, after all the South Carolina players, John Mechie is definitely one of my favorite players in college football. No question about it. Love that kid. He can play. Mac Jones, one of the best quarterbacks. He's playing one of the best. I've been looking at a lot of NFL draft analysis and everything, and like mock drafts and everything. Yes, you're going to have Trevor and then Justin Fields go too, but I have so many drafts that I've seen that have like Trey Lance, no hit to him. I love him. He's a great player out of North Dakota State. You have like Zach Wilson, guys like that. I even saw like Kellen Mond and who else was there? There's lots of, this quarterback draft is actually absolutely stacked this year. Lots of guys like that going out this year. I have seen them over Mac Jones and Kyle Trask, and I'm like, these guys are the 2 best quarterbacks in college football right now. Stat-wise, I know Trevor Lawrence is obviously going to be, even though I hate to say it because I'm a big Gamecocks fan, Trevor Lawrence is the #1 quarterback in all of college football right now. Just player-wise, he's going to be the greatest player maybe ever to not win a Heisman. He's a good quarterback. He knows what he's doing. And it shows when Clemson doesn't have him. Clemson isn't as good as they are when they do have him. I don't know. I just ran it off about how good Mac Jones is, because I think filling the shoes of Tua, a quarterback like that, he's done an amazing job. And I have Alabama going to that national championship. Even though Alabama, I have a lot of people tell me that Alabama, like, I don't like seeing them win because they're in the national championship every single season. I'm kind of the opposite. I've kind of grown a love for Alabama just because they play Clemson in the national championship, it seems like every year, and I hate Clemson with a passion, so I always find myself cheering for Alabama. Alabama's the only team that I really feel confident that can beat Clemson this year. Maybe Ohio State or something like that, but so I naturally tend to cheer for Alabama in a ton of games. I tend to like Alabama. They're just a classic program. I respect Nick Saban so much. Greatest football coach in all of college football of all time. I respect the history of Bear Bryant. Bryant at Denny Stadium is a great place. The fans for Alabama, and I don't see any problem with them. They're not like Clemson fans. I can't stand Clemson fans. Oh, gosh. Don't get me started. We have a bitter rivalry between them. I know I could rant about Clemson all day long, but getting back to this Alabama-LSU game, Alabama's going to run over LSU's defense. Alabama's going to stop LSU, a very struggling offensive LSU, struggling offense for LSU. Alabama's defense is just going to run over all of them. They don't got a chance in this game, in my opinion. Even though it is a night game in Death Valley, I've said it again, anything could happen in this game. Anything can happen when you travel down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and go play a night game at Tiger Stadium in Death Valley. I still feel like Alabama's the way better team in this game, and I have Alabama, no question about it, in this game, and I have them moving to 9-0 and clinching that SEC West spot. So thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it so much, guys. Definitely like the video down below. Comment anything about college football down below. I'd appreciate to hear from you guys. I love hearing from you guys. Like the video, subscribe, and definitely come back next time.